Hey ratepayers, it's Eric Lipman of Utility Reform Now. In our last video, we were talking about the requirement in the Administrative Procedure Act that regulatory programs in Minnesota, including the ones that regulate your utility rates, have to be programs that exemplify superior achievement. And I think the recent rate-making proceeding of the Greater Minnesota Gas Company really puts to the test about whether the MPUC, the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission, is indeed representing, exemplifying superior achievement in that regulatory program. So let me take you back to the autumn of 2024. At that time, Greater Minnesota Gas had been avoiding talking to their regulators in St. Paul successfully for about 15 years. But at long last, they did need, after more than a decade away from the regulators and raising its own rates for natural gas service in its service area, it has to go back and talk to the folks in St. Paul and ask for a rate increase. So they file an application as required by the regulation, and the application includes a number of important pieces about GMG's operation, details about plant and service, about the cash and capital the company has, about its inventory, about operating expenses and income, taxes, debt, historical data on billing its customers, a corporate income statement, and all of that package is supported by sworn affidavits of company officials, just like the regulation requires. And so they drop off this packet, which extends 236 pages of sophisticated and detailed corporate information. They plunk it down at the offices of the MPUC in St. Paul. Oh, what does the MPUC do? It considers for 60 days, 2 months, whether that application indeed conforms to the requirements of the regulation. Not whether you should follow the recommendations of that application and grant an increase in rates based upon the application alone. That's not the question. The question is, does the application include the stuff that's required by the regulation? In any other world outside of the twilight zone, that would require a clerk to compare the application, we've got a table of contents here, against the requirements of the regulation. It would require you to go through and checklist. The question I'm raising, and that I think really needs to be raised, is does it require 60 days in order for you to figure out whether they've got all the stuff in the application? I really wonder about that, particularly because in Minnesota, if you leave stuff out of the application, the doubt created by that is resolved against the utility. It's resolved against the utility. And so utilities have every particular incentive built into the process to include stuff in the application, because if it's left out, the MPUC just doesn't give them the benefit of the doubt. The doubt is resolved against the utility. So I'm, again, not quite clear why it takes 2 months to figure out whether the application is complete. But in our world, the MPUC models Hamlet here, the melancholy Dane, the Denmark prince, to accept or not to accept. That is the question. And apparently it's a question that takes 2 months to answer. If you want superior achievement out of your regulatory programs here in Minnesota, about the program that governs your utility rates, and you want to send inefficiencies like this back with the melancholy Dane back to Denmark and not have them in St. Paul, I'm hoping that you'll like, follow, and subscribe at utilityreformnow.com. utilityreformnow.com.